Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War event objectives for the Helping Hands event, in which the Quatramanus is added to the game. So this week is a very big milestone for the channel, in that this is the 5-year anniversary of us doing this exact type of video. We've been covering the weekly video now for Gems of War for 5 years, as of the 23rd of April officially, so this week. We'll be doing a variety stream both on Friday and Saturday, probably starting around noon or so, a little bit beforehand, and going for quite a few hours, and doing that on both Friday and Saturday. So if you want to stop by, we'll be here on the channel just kind of messing around with a bunch of stuff and just celebrating. But yeah, 5 years, and let's keep going. So this week, we got ourselves the Quatromanus. It comes in with brown, purple, arcane trait stones. This is epic, so you do get them for only 200 glory each, which makes it a good time to stock up on those arcane trait stones if you need them for anything. As far as the troop, it's basically a weaker version of Gargoyle that, if constructs ever become decent, might end up being viable. Basically, it deals light splash damage to an enemy and a random enemy. Light splash damage does 25% to adjacent, so it gets a little bit of poke there, and probably will break any barriers as well with it. And if the enemy's a construct, it gets a lot of value, ends up exploding 8 gems. One weird interaction with this guy, though, is even though we have a event right now that is very construct heavy, we cannot actually use them in the current event, which overall is going to make them not really useful for much. Constructs aren't really too meta. There are quite a few really good constructs. If I'm not mistaken, even Lord of Slaughter counts as a construct. The main issue right now is constructs don't have a mech hero class kind of thing going for it yet. Before, back in the day, mechs and constructs used to be the same thing, but now they're two separate things, and mechs have a 50% start, but constructs don't. So if we ever get a construct hero class that has 50% mana start, constructs do definitely have potential. So he's definitely a troop to keep an eye on if we ever do end up getting that, like a construct 50% mana start hero class, as in that particular instance he would become viable. But until then, he's barely ever going to be used unless there's like a really construct on the opposing team that you want to hard counter or something. He has the exact same kind of trait setup as Gargoyle as well, so you're generally just going to be using Gargoyle in about 98% of situations instead of using this guy. But he has the banding thing for attack, which overall is currently useless, but who knows, maybe these banding things will be somewhat okay later on. But even in a pure team, you're only getting like, what, 4 stats, so pretty small. Really needs a buff. He needs to do some kind of rework to the banding traits. It's a nice premise, but it's just so weak. Just such a weak premise. But anyways, or it's a good premise, but a weak amount of stats that you end up getting. But anyways, as far as his traits for his other two, it's the same thing as Gargoyle. It's 25% spell reduction and 50% scar reduction. So overall, you're just going to be using Gargoyle instead, because it's only one higher mana cost for a much better ability. And the other guy is, of course, brown-red. You can theoretically use both of them together as well, if you want to have them both and use this like behind the Gargoyle. But more often than not, unless there's really specifically a construct on the opposing team that you want to counter, you're pretty much never really going to be bringing this thing into battle. As far as extra stats that we got going on this week, we do have 10% to all White Helm and 10% to all constructs. The White Helm will be pretty good for the event. Construct, not so much. And you do get a little bit extra souls whenever you use him in PvP and Explore. However, compared to just using standard soul farming teams, I wouldn't really bother with him and just go and stick with the normal soul methods. As far as the event key drop table this week, it is not that bad, actually. It is for White Helm. So as far as White Helm is concerned, every single thing you see here, except for the 4 Hall of Guardian troops, are all available. One of those, of course, being Gargoyle, which we were just talking about, but those 4 Hall of Guardian troops are not available. You'd have to go to the Hall of Guardians and use Chaos Shards. We actually just had the event for it last week, if I'm not mistaken. So we just had that pretty recently. But anyways, as far as the event key drop table, definitely a few things that you might want to consider picking up. I think there's like about 3 or 4 really good options. So Angry Mob, it's used instead of Thrall in some instances, has a lot of Gem Destroy. The most noteworthy thing about him is that he has resummoned, so he can end up summoning himself back and just kind of keep multiplying from there. So he ends up getting pretty good value. He also has a damage option, so he can kind of loop into himself, which is always nice. Any troop that can do that. One of the more noteworthy ones, of course, as well, is Guard's Avatar. Guard's Avatar, not the greatest of mythics, however, his most noteworthy aspect is, even though he's weaker than Rowain, which is kind of funny given that Rowain is a free epic, even though he's weaker than Rowain in many situations, it is generally used in place of Rowain. So whenever you are doing delves and you're restricted out of using green or blue, one nice thing about Guard's avatar is it uses 3 colors that Rowan does not. So more often than not, in a specific restriction for low-level delves, you can end up using a Guard's avatar in pretty much every instance where you can't use Rowan. So it ends up working out pretty nicely, since if you can't use Rowan for a delve, you could use Guard's avatar instead if you still want to use the same premise of team, like an Urskia shield and a Guard's avatar and a kill everything kind of method. So overall, definitely pretty good for that. However, outside of that context, it's pretty much not used for much in the current state of the game, other than just trying to get White Helm to 10-star or 20-star, because White Helm can reach 20-star as of this week, which is 1 additional armor, which of course benefits Rowan, Guard's avatar, and obviously every troop in the game by having slightly higher durability. Of course, Gargoyle is good. However, Gargoyle is from Hall of Guardians, not from the event key drop table, but still worth mentioning him. We were just mentioning him earlier too. Holy Saint Astra, this is probably one of the main things you'd want to pick up because it's a low enough rarity that you could end up hitting it. Also, Tesla was in Soulforge last week, and if you picked up a Tesla, this would be a nice synergy option to go get next. So Holy Saint Astra pretty much has one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to give Tesla 50% mana start. Obviously, there are a few other instances where humans are used. However, as far as the strongest human synergy in the game, it is generally just using some kind of hero in first slot that can tank with like Mountain Crusher or something, followed by double Tesla in the Holy Saint Astra. It's one of the stronger teams in the game that uses 0 mythics whatsoever. So definitely worth considering, especially if you picked up a Tesla last week, or if you already have Teslas laying around, but you don't have a Holy Saint Astra yet. Definitely great to get because you can end up building a very strong Tesla team. Basically, you can cast 2 Teslas for the price of 1 as far as their mana cost by having a half mana start for it. On top of that, it also gives armor to your allies. So when you're using Tesla, obviously she gains armor, or she gains damage, true damage, based on all armor that's currently within play. So she gains a lot of value from that. She also gets to enchant them, so if you're not getting mana by other means, you'll be able to do so through that. Lady Sapphira is still useless. She used to be the strongest troop in the game. Anyways, Mercy is the next good utility troop that you might want to consider trying to get if you don't already have a copy of it. She empowers into a cleanse, as well as having a heal onto the weakest enemy. If I'm not mistaken, she's still one of the only troops, if not the only troop, that can specifically target whichever one is weakest, which is actually pretty good for defend teams too, because it makes sure the AI always defends whatever, or, you know, basically protects whatever is weakest on your team, because they're forced to do so. However, it's still pretty useful, even on the context of a player team, mostly because the durability is generally going to go to whatever your first slot is, because they're going to be poked by skulls, so that will normally make their overall durability lower. Basically, what determines weakest is whichever troop has the lowest HP plus armor combination, so whichever one has the lowest in that regard will end up getting the buff. So if your first slot was poked by a skull, they're likely going to be the lowest, which will give it a heal, which will help keep it alive, which is pretty good. It's also used for quite a few Divine teams. Quite a few Mythics are yellow as well, and it's just a nice all-around kind of utility troop that has been good for quite some time. And lastly, if there's something that you're going to be picking up, Archdiva is in the event key drop table. This is the first time Archdiva has ever been in the event key drop table. He came out like, what, the 2nd mythic of this year? Somewhere around there. He came out earlier this year, of course. So pretty recent mythic. However, this is the first time he's been available in the event key drop table. So if you didn't pick him up for Glory Gem Guild or VIP chest while he was the exclusive mythic, you could try for it now and have a toss-up between Guard's avatar and him. If you don't have either of them, it's maybe worth considering as well. They're not the worst mythics in the game, far from the best. They're kind of in like the middle range or upper middle range. Archdiva, of course, main synergy for him, I would say, is probably feeding a Lord of Slaughter. So if you have a Lord of Slaughter, maybe worth considering. Out of every team I messed with, they definitely had the absolute best synergy with a Lord of Slaughter, because not only does the Lord of Slaughter gain a big benefit from having the extra attack and the durability, but also because the, I believe, 27 mana cost he has ends up taking a while to get him rolling. So really great synergy for that. Overall, not too many other synergies that are like super good. However, as more mythics come into the game, he will potentially keep getting better and better, as he basically just full mana's a mythic. Well, technically any troop in the game, but obviously generally you're going to be using this to target another mythic. So if you don't have that many good mythics yet, probably definitely worth the skip. However, it is potentially worth considering if you want to try getting him and didn't end up getting him earlier. Anyways, that's everything in the event queue drop table. Looks like we got Tribute ready, so we'll definitely go grab that, and then we'll go over all the weekly stuff. So this Tuesday, we got ourselves the Crypt event. This is one that you could definitely do without needing to do Purifaction, or not Pure. You don't need potions to do this. This is actually one of the only 2 that we actually ended up doing without it, mostly because it's one of the easiest kingdoms in the game to do without potions. The main reason for this is you have an instant kill option, and that instant kill option will, of course, instant kill the entire enemy team. You just need enough luck, and with enough tries within like a week or a month, you would definitely end up getting the Purifaction done without needing potions, so probably worth it given that you get to save thousands of gems. So overall, I probably would advise advise skipping against doing Pure Faction tomorrow, as it's definitely one of the easiest few factions in the entire game to do Pure Faction for. A little bit annoying RNG-wise, but definitely doable. Anyways, Wednesday we're going to be getting the Griffin Cub thing, which ends up giving, I believe, White Helm bonus, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's White Helm, because the Divine Pigeon was the Divine one. So yeah, it's White Helm bonus for Wednesday. Thursday, we got Priest Tier class. Priest Tier class not used too often, but it does have a +2 yellow once you get it to 70. One off its trait, one off its level 70 thingy. So it's occasionally used for that. Normally, you're using it with Divine Shpala if it's in your team, so you can get a 40% mana start with it. Overall, ever since they nerfed Divine Shpala from 50% to 40%, Priest class pretty much isn't really used anymore, just because that's also a nerf to Priest class indirectly. So since then, yeah, it doesn't really get used much, but it still has its synergy with Divine Protector, which of course is in Soulforge this week, as well as a few other things. And this Friday, for when we're going to be doing the 5-year anniversary stream, we do have the Invasions event. If I'm not mistaken, it's Invasions for Dwarves. Overall, it should be pretty straightforward. We're just getting kind of like one of those dwarf double color thingies, you know, one of the ones that are based on a typing. So pretty standard event, shouldn't take too long to end up getting down. Plus we get a lot of gems and an orb for it, so pretty good value there. Anyways, as far as Soulforge, overall, pretty much everything in Soulforge is skippable, definitely on the troop side. The only one maybe worth mentioning, though I generally don't advise crafting legends. Tesla last week, yes. Divinia, not really worth going out of your way for. However, it is a mass explode into a bunch of life gain, into random stats effects. Overall, probably a skip and just save your diamonds for mythics, but he is somewhat worth mentioning. Though not used as much in the current state of the game compared to some other options. Other than that, if you're going to be crafting a mythic, Aquaticus is probably the way to go, though I would also skip on mythics as well. Aquaticus is one of those Infernus-like troops that does a bunch of those little like splash damage thingies and does a bunch of explosions. Biggest issue with Aquaticus is that it does it specifically to only one specific gem, which is blue. So if it gets hard countered on blue, it's kind of useless. So overall, I'd probably skip on it, though it is the most useful thing that is available this week. Queen of Sin, I guess, could be okay in some instances, though it's generally pretty low tier as far as where it is. But it does have like that whole true damage thing going for it. Its summons are actually good. If it had like a 100% chance of summoning either one or the other one, it would actually be quite a bit better than it currently is. The problem is that the fact that it has both of them, they're both such drastically different troops that you don't know which one you're going to get, and you can't really build a team like specifically around it. But if she 100% of the time summoned Wrath or 100% of the time summoned Lust, she would actually be way better. But the fact that she summons both makes her quite a bit worse. Anyways, as far as weapons, if you were to bother crafting anything in Soulforge, there's probably a little bit more the location you'd want to go for. There's 3 things that are worth crafting. 2 in particular, I wish, it would definitely be advised to get one or the other. And those 2 are Fist of Heaven and Divine Protector. These are both things that synergize very heavily based on Divines, and are pretty useful on quite a few weeks. Anyways, we have a red-green here. He ends up doing a bunch of explosions, and then summons a random Divine Troops and gives positive stats effects to all Divines. Really useful. You've probably seen me using it a couple months back. I forget exactly what we're using it for. We're using it for a couple different things. It definitely pops up as far as usefulness. It's only 14 mana cost, so a great explosion option. Gains a lot of mana accumulation, covers red-green, and red in particular I don't feel like has too many explosion options, and this is definitely one of the better ones for the coloration. But overall, definitely worth considering. And aside from that, Divine Protector used to be so much more meta than it is now. However, it is still a very decent option. So Divine Protector ends up creating a bunch of red and yellow based on Divines on the team. So if you're using a pure Divine team with Priest class and everything, you can end up getting a lot of value for this. Red and yellow are both extremely useful colors for Divines, so you can end up mana accumulating a lot for that. So definitely worth considering getting one or the other. Personally, I would say Fist of Heaven is the better one in the current state of the game. However, that could change over time. Like Divine Protector used to be super ridiculously strong, but it's kind of fell off a little bit. But as it currently stands, I do feel like Fist of Heaven is the better of the 2. And aside from that, if you want to get this Guild War Defend weapon, it is available, Doom Scripture. Of course, we end up setting all of our Defend teams to these books, so not having it upgraded does make it a little bit worse, and it's definitely advised to get Doomed Axe upgraded before you get Doomed Scripture upgraded. But it's definitely the second Doom weapon that you'd consider in that regard. Hopefully it'll add more ways to be able to get these Doom Scrolls at some point. Hopefully soon, who knows, maybe next patch will have it. But anyways, overall, probably worth skipping. It's not really like too good. It's definitely something that at really end game you would end up getting. but it's pretty much only used for Guild War Defend, and you might not even necessarily use for Guild War Defend all the time. So overall, definitely worth skipping, and if you're going to get something, it's definitely a toss-up between Divine Protector and Fist of Heaven, as they're pretty much the only super viable things that are in Soulforge this week. Anyways, let's go and go over all the teams that we have going on throughout the week. So, starting from the top, you probably already saw this for the... Oh, wait, did I not go over the World Event? Hold up. Let me go over the World Event real quick. So, the main reason I forgot to go over the World Event is it's a very straightforward World Event. We do have skulls this week, which is a little bit annoying, though we do have a lot of skull options. However, the restriction is Defender and War Master, so you can't end up using the event troop this week. However, one interesting thing about the scoring... well, here are all the troops that we can end up using. Overall, you're mostly just going to be using skull spam, like Keeper of Souls, Nimue... Divine Ishpala's here. You got yourself like a Bone Dragon if you really want to use that. You have Alder Father, which has a good summon. You have a Glaceon. Like anything like these are generally stuff you want to use. Wild Queen, obviously a really huge one if you have that laying around. You even have Wall of Tentacles if you want to mass mana and use multiple of them, though you're not really going to be casting as much, so probably better to stick with the Skull Spammers, but still an option nonetheless. So overall, you got Sakima, Inferno King. You got quite a few options. Like almost all like the core skull spammers are there for the most part, especially since purple, because purple has the most skull spam as well, so it ends up working out pretty decently overall. But the scoring is a little bit weird in that every room is the same value. So basically, the premise of this event this week is just take the lowest level. They don't scale at all, and they're all the exact same score. We're basically going to get ultra multi-way ties everywhere. Because, as you can see, it's just basically a straight wall of tie. Because it's so easy to tie, because every single battle is the exact same amount of points. So probably the most straightforward World Lore event we've ever had, in that literally do any battle. And ideally, you'd want to do the lowest level ones, because they'll just be a little bit easier. But, yeah, just do anything. There's no there's no rhyme or reason. They're just all the exact same points, and they don't scale. So just take the lowest level, and you'll be good to go. The easiest World event we've ever had. And that does mean you do want to make sure to not lose the Valraven, so do be careful careful with those yellows to make sure Valraven doesn't end up getting away with it, because losing a Valraven will be quite devastating, given that pretty much everything will be multi-way ties if you're going for the leaderboard. So do be mindful of that. Anyways, let's go back to going over teams. So, we already showed the World Lore event team. As far as the cheaper World Lore event team, you definitely don't have that many options because almost every single one is a legendary. However, you can end up doing Black Manacles, which you get for free very early on in the game. Fist of Zorn is an epic that you need fully traded. However, it does get a yellow to Skull Convert while giving an attack boost to your first slot. So it ends up working out pretty decently. And basically behind it, we just use links. So we're using a double purple link in order to feed more mana to both our Black Manacle and to our Fist of Zorn. So basically this is for mana accumulation. It does have backup summon if you truly need it. However, the main reason why you're using it, of course, is for the mana accumulation so that you can get Black Manacle and Fist of Zorn casting a bit more and kind of keep spamming. Overall, there are really not that many options that you could use for low rarity, especially since we can't use the event troop this week for it. And even if we could, Black Manacle is probably still better overall anyways in comparison to it. It does have that Devour chance, so if you get that Devour, you'll kind of be good to go. But unfortunately, it's only 20% chance, so even if you cast it like 5 or 6 times, still a chance you might not get it. Though you'll get lucky at the beginning of some battles, get it off your very first or second cast, and pretty much be good to go for the rest of the battle. But overall, low rarity, definitely a little bit harder this week. Anyways, as far as the event, we do have Crypt Keepers, as I mentioned. As far as low-level stuff, I haven't showed the Gargoyle team for a while, and since we were kind of mentioning Gargoyle quite a bit this video, I figured we end up mentioning him again. So you could just use double Gargoyle with a Leprechaun and pretty much be good to go. Really good for doing delves, really good for quite a few things. I don't personally use him as much these days, but he's definitely a really solid troop. Really tanky overall, having been one of only a few that has both skull reduction and spell reduction, has a really strong ability, and it scales based on your entire team's attack. So the higher the attack, the more damage you get to do. As far as going through the entire thing, of course, we end up having Tesla as an option. So you can just end up going to double Tesla, use a Leprechaun on it, and pretty much be good to go. And that's one option that you can end up using. As far as Pure Faction, Triple Lady Mirana into Graveseer, with the Graveseer specifically in third. Might seem a little bit weird to have a green to purple convert when you don't have a single purple on your team. However, the main reason for this is the first and final battle will both also have a Graveseer. So you basically want to use your Graveseer to make sure their Graveseer doesn't get value. So it might seem weird that we're creating purple for a team that has no purple. However, it is not because we want purple necessarily. It is more so because we're trying to deny the enemies purple. And if I'm not mistaken, Lady Morana also has boost ratio based on how many purples are on the board. So the more purples that are on the board, the higher chance she has to instantly kill. Has a base of 10% with a 2% extra per purple that's on the board. And obviously using Graveseer will create more purple on the board. But you mostly use it to control the enemy's Graveseer just to make sure they don't go out of control. You either use it if you have alignment to automatically get the extra turn on purple, or you basically wait till they waste it and essentially just use it whenever you need to make sure that they don't get value from it. So overall, it is basically just it's a Graveseer in order to counter out the enemy's Graveseer is basically what it comes down to. Anyways, and lastly, we got Priest class. I figured I'd show it with the weaker thing. We, of course, can do a Dawnbringer there. Dawnbringer is the better option. However, if you want something cheap, Dancing Daggers is the best alternative. You get it for 250 wins off the Dervish hero class, which is, of course, the Drifting Sands hero class. And if you get that, you get this weapon for free. It's a weaker version of Dawnbringer. However, it's good to just use as alternative. We could feed yellow to it, cast it a couple times, and still win. And we have Paladins here just to feed a little bit more yellow, though you can also use them for pokes, especially on that guy that has resummon at 100% chance. Good way to get rid of him. Double Paladin should easily be able to kill it. And you kind of just use the Mercy, of course, with purple to yellow convert in order to get things rolling, and also help keep your team alive. Though that's generally not going to be too big of a deal for this type of event. But anyways, guys, that will wrap it up for this video. As I mentioned, 5-year anniversary stream for the channel will be on the official 5-year anniversary day of the 23rd, as well as on Saturday by popular request, because quite a few people will be busy on Friday because of work. So we're going to also do it on Saturday for all the people that can't catch it on Friday, or for anyone who wants to watch both of them. But we'll be doing that this weekend on the channel. But anyways, thank you guys for all the support over 5 years. We've definitely had some people who've been around for that long, but even if you're more recent, thanks for stopping by. It's been a great time. And definitely check out the streams if you haven't. We'll definitely cover more videos for this game, more guides, a lot of fun stuff. But anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Thanks for the continued support over all this time, and I will catch you guys later. Have a wonderful week, and thanks for watching. Goodbye, everyone.